Hi, this is the Australia group for Project 4. And for this project, we found, our colleague Benjamin found an article entitled An Australian Perspective on Standards Based Education, Teacher Knowledge, and Students of English as an Additional Language. So, the focus of the article was kind of based on the political turmoil a bit happening in Australia right now. They developed a new curriculum for schools that was supposed to be more beneficial to what they term EAL students rather than ESL students. And so this new national curriculum was supposed to be introduced to all of the states so that there wouldn't be discrepancies between them. And it provided a lot of benefits to the EAL students, like having them have equal amount of challenge in their courses rather than dumbing them down. And one quote that was mentioned in this article said, "One important lesson learned from past efforts to overcome inequality is that an alternative curriculum for students regarded as disadvantaged does not treat them equitably. It is better to set the same high expectations for all students and to provide differentiated levels of support to ensure that all students have a fair chance to achieve those expectations." So the goal there was that EAL students wouldn't be dumbed down and not learn as much as a result. However, the politics has changed recently, and that new curriculum hasn't been enforced very well. And so the research was in a way to kind of bring back this curriculum, give more support to it so that it can be used more widely across Australia.
Yeah, and I think especially because right at the time of its implementation, they decided to not go through with it anymore. So they wanted to see what it can actually benefit if implemented well.
Yeah, and so the research was focused on trying to determine what kind of knowledge the teachers would need to have in order to develop their own frameworks rather than trying to base everything on a set of standards which aren't actually very helpful for the students. And so the study, they used prior research into the pedagogy of teaching the EAL students, and they developed a curriculum based on that, and they put it into practice in order to determine what knowledge the teachers would need in order to use that kind of curriculum.
So, when conducting their research, what they wanted to do was focus on schools where 60% of the student population was EAL, and not necessarily they were conversational, in English, but they weren't academically fluent in English. So this is more a study to find out how to help students become more academic and more adequate in English, I guess, as opposed to helping them actually speak it. So one of the things that they really focused on was the high challenge aspect of it, which basically just means to challenge every student, not just first language speakers of English, and hold them to the same standards so that they don't get complacent in learning. And like Audrey said, so that they're not trying as hard, so that they continue to keep working hard and keep trying to reach these higher goals that are set for them.
And at the same time, while implementing these high challenges, it's where they don't have to, where you would think that the EAL students would potentially fail, where their non-EAL student counterparts would do well. They have also identified the high support system, which basically tends to each of the students' individual need for support and kind of gauge it from there, and to support them along their way so they can obtain the goal of the high challenges.
So basically with high support, it's the idea that to provide the students with the support and tools they need to reach these higher challenges, no matter what their starting point is, so that they can all reach it and not become deterred when they're not reaching high challenges.
And so the curriculum they came up with was tailored to the EAL students by using a lot of the activities had a lot of literary strengths in them, like having a lot of group presentations where they have to utilize the language. Like for science, they needed to use certain vocabulary and develop grammar to be able to explain it well, and they had a lot of written assignments. So within the high support, high challenge framework, they added a lot of literacy elements specifically to help EAL students.
One thing I found that was really interesting with the supporting the academic language and literacy development when they were talking to teachers and trying to teach teachers how to implement these changes and how to teach this way. One of the teachers actually said, most teachers don't have the skills to do that, i.e. teach more complex aspects of language, and I don't. I look at it, students writing text, and I say, you haven't expressed this very clearly. To pinpoint what they need to do is sometimes quite difficult, and it is very time consuming. Just the fact that teachers don't think they know how to help EAL students with their literary English.
Yeah, so they kind of determined that the knowledge the teachers would need actually goes beyond just the content more than teaching math or teaching science. The teachers also needed to have knowledge in the language in order to help their students write better and use that kind of vocabulary and grammar better so that their academic English could improve.
And then, as far as critiquing,
Yeah. The article itself wasn't specifically about Australian English, but rather how teaching English works within an Australian context.
And one thing that I found really bothered me about the article is that they cite who they're trying to teach this to and like what types of groups they're trying to do their research in, but she never gives any outcomes of her research, or there's no this is what it helped, this is what it did.
Yeah, she gives examples of the curriculum they used, but not like normally in a study they would present all of the information they used, but she only gave small examples and didn't really flesh out the results of the study.
And nor was it anything that she actually researched, or it wasn't her own research, it was of other people.
She quoted other people's research a lot to back up her claims instead of her own findings, which was interesting.